Okay, well, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to keep watching the waiting room. So as people are trying to get on, I'll continue to admit them. So good morning. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Those of you that may not know who I am, my name is Chad Allgood. I'm the director of the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development. We're here at the Mississippi Department of Human Services. We've been doing these information sharing sessions for a few years now. We actually started these back during the pandemic, and we found that they were a really fantastic way for us to share information with you all, for you all to give an opportunity to ask us questions. And so we've continued to do them, and we are going to continue to do these as we move on into the future, so to speak. So those of you that may be new to the information sharing sessions, I'll just a couple of housekeeping things, kind of let you know how these go. So we do ask that everyone stay muted, again, just in the interest of keeping the feedback noise to a minimum. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a few minutes here at the beginning of the session just to share some updates with you all, some of our key updates from the division. And then we're going to give you all an opportunity to ask questions that may have come up about certain things. So what we do, and as far as like asking the questions, if you do have specific questions, or if you do have a question that you want to ask us, if you'll put that question in the chat, and then when we get to the question answer portion, we will go to those questions and we will address those questions as they come up in the chat. If there is a need for clarification on a specific question, then we may ask for clarification on a question that's answered. In terms of questions, if you have questions about like a specific certificate, or if you have questions about a very specific issue that has to do with your program, we do ask that you not address or try to get those addressed during this session. This session is more for broader questions about policy or division level things that we got going on. So if you got questions about a parent certificate, or if you've got questions about one of the other programs that has to do with like the teacher incentive program, this is not the avenue to address those questions about specific people, okay? So that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with the updates. Okay, just one more. I just want to double check one more time. Can everyone hear me okay? You can just give me a quick thumbs up. Awesome. And y'all can see the screen okay as well? All right, fantastic. So here we go. One other thing I do want to remind you, we are recording these sessions. And we do that because we post these on our website so people can go back and watch the sessions later. So just be mindful of that they are being recorded. Your videos are not being recorded. It's just the presentation itself, but we also are keeping a record of chat. So anything that you put in the chat is being recorded as well. And if you send a private message, I do not believe that is recorded, but the public chat we are also keeping as a matter of public record. Just make sure that everybody knows that. So if you're going to call me a poo-poo head, don't do that in the chat, okay? At least not in the public chat. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to the March 6th info sharing session. We've just got a couple of quick updates that we're going to share with everybody. Okay, hold on, I'm still getting some feedback. So okay, all right. First thing that I wanted just to bring to everybody's attention, so we are working with the Social Science Research Center, and that's at Mississippi State University. They are conducting our 2024 market rate survey. Most, or all of you may have been contacted by the Social Science Research Center via phone. What they are doing is they are first contacting everybody to set up a time for to do the market rate interview, and they'll schedule a date and a time to do that with you, and then they will follow up on that actual date and time to conduct the actual interview. I do appreciate all of you that have participated or have signed up to participate. The market rate survey is how we establish our rate structure. When we set the rates that that our reimbursement rates for our child care payment program, we do that based on the responses that we get from the market rate survey from you all. It's very, very important that we get as many responses as possible because we are the goal there is to set our rates at a level that is in line with what your tuition rates are. So if you do get a call from the Social Science Research Center, we do ask that you please take the time to do the survey. We know that your time is very precious, but this is a very important initiative that we are doing. And SSRC, they are also trying to be mindful of everyone's time. That's why they're calling to set up the interview time first. If you do schedule an interview time with them, we also ask that you stick to that interview time, that you follow through with it, because again, they're trying to get as many responses as possible. So I do appreciate those of you. I see some of you saying that you have participated. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So when you do get that call, we just ask that you do cooperate and participate in that. Second thing that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, this is the year 2024, which sounds kind of weird when you say it like that. But this is also the year that we have to write and submit our state plan for the next 3 years to the Office of Child Care. The Office of Child Care is the federal office that oversees the Child Care Development Fund. That's the money that funds the subsidy program, the training, the TA, everything that our office provides. The Office of Child Care releases something that they call the final rule. And the final rule is the guidance that tells us everything that we have to do in the state plan to be in compliance with federal requirements. So they have released the final rule. It is available online. I will see if I can pull it up. Well, I can't. My screen's being ornery, but you can actually just search CCDF 2024 final rule, and it will take you to the page. There's a web page that is dedicated to the final rule. So you can actually go, you can download that, you can read it. So what's going to be happening between now and July 1st when we have to submit the state plan, we are starting to work on the state plan now, and we're going to be using the final rule, and then there's a template for the state plan that we use to complete the state plan. Prior to us submitting the state plan, or prior to us putting the state plan in place, we do have to have a public hearing, and we will be holding a public hearing that will allow the public, that includes any of you that are on this call, to join and to provide comment on the proposed state plan. Now, as we've done in the past, the 2 weeks leading up to the public hearing itself, we will post the state plan online and allow you to provide written comment as well. And again, I do encourage you, I know it takes some time to look through that state plan. Believe you me, it is not light reading, but we do feel that it's important that you all take a look at the state plan, because that's how we set our operations up. We do encourage you to look at the state plan. If there's things in there that you're not sure about, that you're confused about, if there's things you need clarification on, if there's things that may be of concern to you, you do have that public hearing and that written comment period to give us direct feedback. And we take all that feedback, and we address any of the concerns to the extent possible that we need to. The next thing that I wanted to mention, I've gotten some questions about the school age reimbursement program. So what that is we do have some child care providers back during the pandemic. They provided care for school age children all day. This was back during the pandemic when some of the school districts were only providing virtual learning, and there were a lot of parents that didn't really have any options for their kids, and you all provided services to them that you all provided services to them all day. And I just want to say, I think that was, that's really fantastic. I think that was really amazing that you all agreed to open your doors up full day for those kids. Well, because of the way the federal rules were at that time, we were only able to reimburse you all for the part-time rate, which is how it normally is with our school agers during the school year. Well, we received permission with our federal relief money, the American Rescue Plan money, to go back and pay you all the difference between the full-time rate and the part-time rate that we actually gave you. So what we did was we pulled all of the ledgers, because during that time we had you all complete ledgers with special coding. We pulled all the ledgers for that time period, and we have submitted that to Horn, which is an accounting firm. They're going through, they're validating that file. They're making sure that there isn't anything that needs to be corrected in those ledgers, and they are preparing that payment file to be sent out. I heard from Horn last, I think it was Thursday, whatever date the 29th was, which wasn't, excuse me, that was Friday. That was last Friday. Or no, I was right. It was Thursday. It was last Thursday. They said that they're working on getting the payment file finalized, and that the school age payments should be dispersed via direct deposit in the next 2 weeks. So that's where we stand on that. Okay. I don't really have any other updates on that at this point. If it looks like there's going to be a delay for any reason, we will notify you all, but that's where we stand with that program. The other thing that I wanted to say is we've been getting questions about the teacher incentive payment program. My office is not handling those payments directly. Those are also being handled by Horn, the accounting firm. If your teachers are having issues, they're wanting to know if they've been approved, if their application has gone through, if they're wondering where their payment is, they need to contact Horn directly. And the phone number and the website, there's also a contact us link on the website. You can contact my office if you want to, but the only thing that I can do is contact Horn to find out, what's going on. Now, we have been getting some reports that teachers are not getting responses from the call center. We have had some conversations with Horn about monitoring those calls, being responsive when teachers have questions, when they need information. I have been told that Horn is not going to release any information about a teacher to a director. So it has to be the teacher themselves that's receiving the payment. They have to make contact with Horn to get information about their specific payments. But if you're absolutely not getting any response from Horn, and I do ask, I know that it can be a little frustrating waiting on those payments. There's been some issues where Horn has released payment, but it's been a few days before the payment actually gets to the teacher. Sometimes that has to do with whatever the teacher, whatever bank they use. Different banks have different direct deposit rules. Sometimes the payment may be a little bit delayed from when it's actually released to the bank. So just, we do ask that y'all be as patient as possible, but we do promise that we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that any and every teacher that is eligible for that program is going to receive their payment before that program ends. I have also agreed to open the program up for directors. Now, previously directors were not eligible for the program. This was a program that was designed to incentivize and hopefully slow some of the turnover for teachers, but acknowledging that there are directors that worked in the classroom. I myself have been a director that has been in that particular position. We have opened it up. Now, that being said, if you are an owner and a director, you are not eligible. People that own their own program, you're not eligible. We sent out stabilization grants to the tune of $355 million a couple of years ago. That money went to owners. Okay. This money is for the people that are working in the classrooms. All right. So if you're a director and you are having to be in the classroom and you don't own your program, you are eligible to sign up. The owner is going to have to verify that you are spending a percentage of your time in the classroom, and you are eligible for the same reimbursement level that the teachers are based on how many hours you're working in the classroom. All right, moving on. We do have an update to the child care payment system. We now have an option where providers, you all can upload documents directly to the portal rather than send them into our office. This is something that's new. Now, you are not supposed to upload parent documentation to the portal. We have a parent portal that allows parents to upload documentation that we need. This is for you all. You can upload your sign-in and sign-out sheets directly to this portal. You can upload if there's professional development hours that you need to upload. Like, for example, if you rely on the Mississippi Director's Credential, or if you rely on the Child Development Associate Credential and we need proof of that, you can upload that to the portal. But this is documentation pertaining to your program, not for your parents. Okay. Okay. And I've just put a nice little screenshot there that shows you can access the provider portal via the MDHS website. You go to the For Providers link on our website, and you can pull up the portal there. Okay, also, a few months ago, well, not a few months ago, just a couple of months ago, we launched the LiftEd system. The LiftEd system is our professional development registry for the state. LiftEd is, it allows you all to sign up for trainings. It allows your teachers to directly sign up for trainings. The system also keeps track of all training hours that your teachers complete, creates a profile for your teachers, etc. So that being said, LiftEd is still a work in progress. We're still making updates and improvements to the system. So we have made a few updates. If you log in, when you first log in, and I put a little picture here, so I actually logged in about 30 minutes ago, and when you log in, you'll see the welcoming screen, and over on the right side, there's an announcements window. And I've got this yellow arrow that's pointing right to that announcements window. Y'all, that window is not just there for your help. Well, it actually is there for your help, okay? Because any updates to the system are going to be listed, or any important announcements about training, whatever, are listed in there. So when you log in, take a couple of seconds, make sure there's nothing new in that announcement, on that little announcement window that you didn't know about, okay? So just check that. We are going to be doing some system updates here over the next couple of weeks. So when you log in, just check that announcement screen. Something else that I wanted to remind you of, any of the trainings that are offered by DECCD, my office, any trainings that are offered by HELP, any trainings that are offered by the Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center, or any of our other partnering agencies, they are not going to be issuing training certificates anymore, with a couple of exceptions. Like if you take the Mississippi Director's Credential, you do get a nice pretty certificate that you can frame, etc. But certificates that just track contact hours by certain agencies are no longer being printed. An easy way to remember this is, if you register for a training in the LiftEd system, you're not going to get a training certificate. This system is designed to create a transcript that captures all training for anything that is done or registered for through this portal. We're doing this, in an effort to minimize the amount of paper that we're shuffling around, but also this is going to help expedite the licensing process, the licensing renewal process as well, because health is going to be able to, they're going to be able to go in and check training before they even come and do their visit. And I don't know about you all, but when I was a director, the last time my licensing official was on site, the lower my blood pressure stayed. That's a joke. But anyway, there are no training certificates that are going to be issued by those agencies, with a couple of exceptions. Now, you can upload training certificates to the portal itself. You can upload certificates yourself. But I will say this, and if your licensing official or anyone is asking for paper copies of trainings that you've taken or that you've registered for in the LiftEd system, you need to let them know that that is not how we're doing things anymore. And you can tell them that Dr. Chad Allgood said that we are not issuing paper certificates, okay? And we can take care of that and address that issue. So yeah, and if you got any follow-up questions about that, you can feel free to ask those questions when we get to the other section. We are offering more face-to-face trainings. We're slowly getting back into the swing of offering face-to-face trainings. So when you go to register for a training through LiftEd, make sure that you're checking the listing to see if it's offered as a face-to-face versus a virtual training. Okay, and with that said, that's all that I have in the way of updates. So we're going to move on into the question part. So if you have specific questions, if you'll put those in the chat, and we will look at those questions and answer those questions. I may answer the question. If I cannot answer the question, I've got some other people from my division here that I may ask to answer those questions. Okay, again, if you've got specific questions about your specific program, we do ask that you either call our call center or use our CC Payment email. And then of course you can always email, myself, Angela Crockett, who's my deputy director. You have that option as well. So we have a question here about people who have gotten their incentive payments and then they quit. I just want to remind, and you can remind your teachers, when they sign up for the incentive payment, they agree to work in childcare for over a year. And if they do quit as soon as they receive the payment, they are not in compliance with it. Is a contract that they're signing. Depending on how much funding we got, I mean, we may seek recoupment from those teachers. It just depends, but they are in violation of that if they quit. When they receive that payment or when they agree to receive that payment, they sign a statement. It is an attestation that says that they agree to continue working in childcare for a year after receiving the payment. So you might just want to remind them all of that. We have another question here about, I have since purchased a new site, have a new license provider number. Will they send it to my bank account that was used during that time? So I'm assuming the question is that since you provided the school age care during the pandemic, you now have a new license. What you'll need to do is you'll need to send either myself or Angela Crockett an email. We have to verify through documentation that you did in fact provide that after school care full-time and only receive part-time reimbursement. Now we can track that information with your old provider number, but no, if you have opened a new center since then, we're not going to automatically send a payment to your new center. You need to verify with us what your old provider ID number was. We need to verify that we did receive vouchers showing that you provided care for those school agers. And then we need to verify that you are in fact still operating, that you are still licensed under a new license number, a new provider number. And we will get the payment routed to that. Let's see. There's a question about the state plan hearing being held in person or virtual or hybrid. I believe we will. We've done virtual the last couple of times that we've done the public hearing. That's worked well. It's a little difficult to do a hybrid version of that. We will definitely do a virtual where people can, very similar to this, except we'll allow you all to come off mute and give public comment. We'll definitely do that. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to my administration yet about if they want to do an in-person as well as a virtual, but we will notify you all. I will say the virtual has worked well for us. And I think it works well for everyone else. Making a trip to Jackson can be kind of difficult. And so I will say this, we will not only do an in-person, okay? We will do a virtual. We will definitely be doing a virtual, like I said, the format similar to this. We may do an in-person in addition to the virtual. Let's see, what time period during COVID will be considered for the payment? So this is a question about the time frame when the school age care was offered. I don't remember the specific dates, but we did, I think it was somewhere around March 2020 through whenever
February 2022, I want to say.
We're guesstimating here, so somewhere between March 2020 and February 2022. But those are just guesstimates. Okay, there was a time period when we had you all submit those ledgers because it was up until the point that we got the waiver to allow to go back and reimburse you all. Okay. Suggestion for the virtual and in-person. Thank you for that suggestion. There's a question about the accountability of teachers that are quitting. You know, y'all, that's actually outside of my pay grade to decide if we're going to recoup the funds from those teachers. You know, that is the policy that's in place, but we have a separate division that decides if they're going to seek recoupment from clients. So, and as far as that goes, we do have their information, you know, that they, for their payment address, whatever, we can seek recoupment if that division decides to do that. There's a question earlier this year, sent out a memo about closure dates, clarify what was sent to us. We select closure dates for the term prior. Okay, so let me just say let me clarify the closure date policy, because there has been some confusion. First and foremost, that is not a new policy. We did not make any changes to our closure date policy. Now, that being said, last year we received a lot of reports from parents from different parts of the state that they were getting notices, very short notices, that their childcare programs were closing. You know, like let's say it would be on like today's Wednesday, they were going to pick up their children and they were getting notification that their center was closing for the next entire week. And these were not dates that were set in their parent handbook. These were dates that were just you know, I myself have had some employees that have come to me and said that their child care provider they've decided they're going to close for a few days here and there. Let me be very clear. The policy, and you need to go look at the policy manual, the policy manual, the one that I'm talking about is the child care payment policy manual. If you look at that policy, what it says is that you are required to stick to the schedule that you have on file with the Department of Health, or the schedule that you have with us, whichever is most recent. And that is not new. We have not changed that. We have not updated it. Are we doing a little bit more? Are we trying to do a little bit better of enforcing that policy? Yes, we are. But what that means is whatever your closure schedule is that's established in your parent handbook. In other words, when parents come and they enroll their kids with you, you should have a section in your parent handbook that says the dates that you're going to be closed. You got to stick to that, y'all, unless there's a case of an emergency or something that's beyond your control. But as long as you're sticking to that schedule, whatever that schedule is that you have on file, and you're following the other dates that we have outlined in our policy manual, then you're just fine, okay? The issue that we're running into is when people are wanting to close for a week here and there, and they're not giving parents enough notice. And so again, the best way that we can make sure that we're not running into that issue is we just ask that y'all stick to what your schedule is in your parent handbook. Okay.
And one other thing, when you switch out the dates in the portal for the holidays, you have to go in and make sure you switch the days. It's in your portal under reports and under the holiday tab. Once you do that, you will be able to switch the days. For example, any of the flexible days that you want. So MLK Day or Robert E. Lee Day was one people chose. They wanted to give up because they were open on the coast for Mardi Gras. Well, if you're going to use those days and switch out, then we expect for you to be open on the days that you switch. But what we're trying to do is to ensure that the coding is already on your ledger for those holidays. So once you enter that holiday that you want to switch into the portal, when your ledgers are generated for that, whatever that month is that you switch, the holiday codes will be there. So you don't have to put those dates there. All you have to do is just validate if it was full-time or part-time. But full-time or part-time. So you definitely want to make sure that you use those codes. for that and use it. And if you're going to have holiday plus professional development, all of those requirements have to make sure you enter that professional development days, as well as the holiday itself, and make sure that you read the professional development requirements, because there are some things that you have to report into our office when you switch out those dates, or when you use professional development days coinciding with our holiday. So just be mindful of those. So like spring break, the portal says that you have to have 14 days to enter it into it. So if you are less than 14 days, the portal's not going to let you use that holiday, and there's not anything I can do to override that. So please make sure, if you already know what they are, go in and update that portal.
So again, just to recap, as long as you're following what you have on file with Department of Health and with us, whichever one's most recent, with your parent handbook that outlines upfront when parents can expect you to be closed, and as long as you're following our other policies about holidays, you're okay. All right. We did just want to make sure that everyone understood that, and that is not a new policy. That we didn't make any changes to that. We didn't make any updates to that. And I do apologize for any confusion that previous correspondence may have caused, but that is the policy. Okay, so there's a question. If you have school-age children that attended full-time due to the parents' work hours, would this apply to the reimbursement as well? So bottom line is, if you provided full-time care for these school-age kids during the school year, normally during the school year, we are only allowed to provide you part-time reimbursement because you're only caring for those school-agers part-time. During the pandemic, schools closed, or they closed their doors. They were offering virtual learning, but parents were left with no options because they still had to go to work. Well, a lot of you, out of the goodness of your heart, you cared for those kids full day, even though it was part during the school year. If you provided that care and you completed your ledgers with the special codes that we provided you, now keep in mind, you should have already submitted those ledgers. But if you were keeping your ledgers like we gave you instructions, where you were coding them, even though you were caring for them full time, we gave you a special code. Do you remember the letters, Angela?
Y and Z.
Y and Z were the letters that were used. If you submitted ledgers with that, those are the children that we're going to go back and pay you the difference between the full-time and the part-time rate. And that apply. It doesn't matter if it was because of the parents' work schedule or whatever. But again, it was the school agers that you cared for full-time when school was technically still in session, but the schools were closed and were only offering learning virtually. Okay. Will there be any new funding for school age programs in the future? I'm assuming you're talking about like maybe expansion grants or startup grants. At this point, we are not offering any other school age specific grants, startup grants right now. And just another thing, I will say, as of September 30th of this year, all of our relief dollars have to be liquidated. So we will have no more additional relief dollars after September 30th of this year. We paid out all of the funds that we got for stabilization grants. We even used another portion of some of our other relief money for stabilization grants. We have some startup programs right now that you can take advantage of, that offer some startup training for those of you that may want to open your own business. Most of you all have already opened your own business or are already established, so that that part would not apply to you. But as of right now, we're not offering any school age specific programs. So there's a question here about if a teacher is fired. If the teacher is fired, because the payments are being broken down, if they're no longer working in a child care program, they're not still eligible for those continued payments. So if they're fired, that's a little bit of a different situation. Let's see. There's a question, our staff development dates are already on our calendar. Should I send the documentation before or after the training to your office? It depends on what professional development you're talking about.
Sorry. So the professional development, that you do in-house for, that you have to follow for the closure, requirements, you would need to send those, you can send it in early, and then the only thing left would be when you, after you have the training and you have paid your staff, you have to show, payment to the staff. So that would be the only thing that would be left to do, but you want to go ahead and at least go ahead and put the dates in the calendar so that we can pay you for the professional development days, because those are a special code and not, and I didn't say that earlier, those are not the Y and the Z codes. Those are professional development codes, and those will be entered in. So that will be what you need to do. So everything else can come in. If you already know what your agenda is, what you're going to be talking about, focusing on. The other thing that would have to wait would be your sign in and out sheet, because we would need that. But the list of items that you must submit are in the handbook. So you'll know what you can send in and what you can't. But you can upload it through your document upload through your portal.
There's a question about being an owner and working in a classroom. Will financial allowance be made for you? No, the teacher incentive program is not for owners. We provided funding through the stabilization grants, the Child Care Strong grants that went directly to owners. So the teacher incentive program is for those that are working in a classroom that do not own their program. Another question, will the reimbursement period during the pandemic be a lump sum or monthly reimbursement? It's a lump sum. It's going to be a lump sum payment. We have another question about another round of stabilization funding. I don't know where that talk came from. It did not come out of my mouth. There is no more stabilization funds available right now. Mississippi received about $319 million that was specifically allocated for stabilization grants. We spent every penny of that on stabilization grants on the Child Care Strong program. And then we allocated several more million from our CRSA funds to ensure that everyone that applied and was eligible did receive a stabilization grant. So at this point, there is not any, there are no more stabilization funds that are coming out. I will say a couple of you have come to me and said that there are companies out there that are saying this is the case, and they're offering to help manage your grant. We had this issue back when we first did the Child Care Strong grant, and our office had to issue a cease and desist letter to one of these companies because they were going around saying that you all could pay them to manage the grant from the grant funds. We actually went to the feds directly and asked the question if Child Care Strong funds could be used to pay a company to manage the grant. And the federal government explicitly told us no. So these companies that are trying to do that to y'all, this is a scam. There is not another stabilization. There are no more stabilization funds that are going around specifically for childcare. Not at this point. I haven't heard any whispers of that. And any company that's approaching you and saying, hey, if you get federal grant funds, we can manage that for you. That is not an allowable use of grant funds. So just wanted to clarify that. I think I got the questions answered that are coming up so far. Any other questions or clarifications that I need to provide on anything else, anything that's been asked?
Stabilization.
There's a question about if a teacher left temporarily and then is going to come back for the summer, can they pick back up on their payments? No, they need to be, they need to be continuing to work for you. So if they're not currently working for you, they're not going to be eligible for the program. We're not going to pick them back up in the summer. A projected date about the draft state plan, when it will be shared. No, at this point, I don't have a projected date on exactly when the state plan will be shared. I mean, we do have to get it submitted to the feds by July 1. I mean, we will share the plan prior to that and give you all opportunities to weigh in prior to that, but I don't have a specific date just yet. The final rule was actually just released this week. So I haven't even had a time to completely read through it just yet, but we will keep you all updated. Let's see. I've encountered 2 teachers that have been off 1 week since the last incentive pay. I'll be reporting them working for less than 15 hours to tell them if they didn't return with a doctor's excuse, and that is of course your prerogative. So teachers, let me say this. While teachers are receiving the incentive pay, they are still required to adhere to all of the requirements for working for you. So if you terminate a teacher because of lack of performance, or if they just quit and they don't come back, they're not eligible. I mean, that contract, them receiving those incentive payments, is explicitly tied to them working in a child care program, a subsidy receiving child care program. So if you have to fire somebody, you know, you're reporting that they're no longer working for you, they will not continue to receive payment. Let's see, will you respond to our concerns about the state plan in writing? Yes, we are required to, whenever we receive questions or comments about the state plan, we are required by law to provide responses in writing. When should we expect to receive the lump sum payment for the pandemic reimbursements? I mentioned this earlier. The vendor that is handling that said within the next 2 weeks. There's a question. So should the directors go online and wait for the payment as well? I'm assuming this is the incentive payment. Yes, you will apply for the payment. You should receive notification when I believe when you're approved.
Yes.
Again, if you do have specific questions, you do need to contact Horn, and I'm going to put there's the phone number and the website. But if you are having issues getting a response from them, then and only then, if you need to come to us and say, hey, you know, we will reach out to Horn on your behalf. But again, just be mindful that I am one person. And so, you know, if you do email me and ask me to do that, I will do so as my schedule allows. Is there any thoughts about what to do for teachers after this incentive plan is over? It will be challenging to maintain this rate from the center. Yeah, and the thing is, you all, I mean, there's really no expectation that you continue to pay them at the same level, and I can appreciate that it is still an issue. What we were hearing from you all is that we were losing teachers, you know, day after day. We were hoping that with the incentives that we would at least have a temporary fix for some of the work, the turnover rates with teachers. But as I've said before in multiple meetings, the teacher turnover, the low teacher pay, teacher turnover, y'all, that is just simply something that my office does not have the funding to address. There is not enough money in the CCDBG allocation that our state gets for us to tackle the problem of low pay. This is where we have to take our state to task. This is where you all need to be talking with your legislators. You need to be talking to, you know, folks that can make, you know, key decisions about the problem. This is where y'all have to step up and, you know, speak up and say, listen, you know, we're providing childcare to working families. We're providing support to families that have to have childcare to work. If we cannot provide childcare, then parents can't go to work. We're trying to keep our costs as low as we can.
Mm-hmm.
but payroll is our single biggest cost. If we raise the cost, if we pay our teachers more, we've got to charge parents more. And childcare is already incredibly expensive for parents. So this is conversations that y'all need to have with your state legislators, because at this point, we simply do not have the level of funding to address that. Let's see. If a teacher leaves before receiving the incentive payment, is showing approved, will they still receive it? If you have a teacher that leaves, if they quit or if they are terminated, you need to notify Horn immediately. Because no, they should not receive a payment if they're not continuing to work for you. Let's see, can you please put the information in chat to contact Horn? So the website or the phone number is 601-258-3402. I'll put that in the chat. You can also go to the Mississippi ECCDI.com website. Oh, that didn't hyperlink. Just one second. That website has a contact us option on it as well. Let's see. Thank you, Rosalind. I appreciate your comment about that. It's definitely a problem. Can you confirm if we were receiving paper checks or direct deposit? No, I cannot. That is a question that you need to address with Horn. They're processing those payments. If you have requested a paper check, they have to make special allowances for that. So you'll need to call that phone number or that website and ask about the school age funding. If you indicated that you did want to receive a paper check, I would assume that they will issue you a paper check versus direct deposit. Yes, I have heard that Dr. Grace and some other groups are working on some possible ways of increasing teacher pay. So again, this is a problem that we all, it's a problem that is shared across the board. So we all need to do our part to try to address that problem. Okay, we've got about 6 minutes left. Any other questions or clarifications that you need from us? Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions, so I'm probably going to wrap it up and give you all a whole 5 minutes back to your day. Thank you. Thank you all for attending the info session. We appreciate y'all taking the time to come. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your participation. At any point in the future, if anything that we can do, we're here for y'all. So don't hesitate to reach out. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you next time. Take care.